Hi, and welcome to the SaVeg podcast.
I'm Rose, also known as Cheap Lazy Vegan on YouTube.
And I'm Daniel, one of your favorite guest stars on Cheap Lazy Vegan's YouTube channel.
We're two friends who love to talk about the latest trending topics.
So get comfortable and join us while we give our savage take on just about everything.
You are currently listening to the previous episode of this podcast, but if you would like to listen to this week's episode and get some exclusive content, go over to patreon.com/thesavagepodcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the SaVeg podcast. So
Hi
for
there.
all of you, hi Rose, how you doing?
I be good.
God damn, this be our second episode that's being released in the new year. However, this is our first episode that me and Rose are recording in the actual
new year. Yes.
Yeah. So
how are we feeling?
I think I'm feeling quite optimistic actually. This new year has brought in a reinvigorated sense of Daniel, and I'm kind of feeling like I'm going back to my optimistic roots.
Oh, very nice. It's only been 3 days, so let's see what happens.
That's so true. But I'm feeling quite good, and vaccines are being rolled out now, so I just feel like everything's kind of heading in a positive
right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't want to jinx anything just yet, but yeah, how are you feeling?
Well, I'm always just living a state of utter I don't even know how to say it.
Are you going to be able to speak on this podcast
I can't
today,
speak.
Rose?
I'm just, always in a down situation in terms of thinking about society. But when I don't think about society and I focus on my little bubble, I'm totally fine. So
yeah.
That's my situation. So I try to focus on my little bubble, but then we have this podcast, so we have to think about society. So yeah, it keeps me in check. It keeps me balanced.
Yeah. Well, like you said, life is all about balance.
Yes.
And
you don't want to be too positive and living in your own world, but you also don't want to be, heading toward a very dark place.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't want to be like in that. I think it's important to have a certain level of optimism, but I do think you need to be, shrouded in a little bit of reality as well.
Yes.
Something
which for a long time, Daniel,
I struggled with.
Yes.
And I think I still do struggle with, because I often go into my kind of not fantasy, but like my own
fantasy.
Exactly. Like something will happen and I'll be like, oh my God, like this and this and this. And then Rose will be like, Daniel.
And then I smack you down back into reality.
Yeah. That's why this friendship works. I'm always like off in my own little universe, and then you just grab me and pull me back down. You
have to have the checks and balances, Daniel. It's important.
It is. It is very, very important.
Anyway, guys, how are we?
Welcome to 2021.
Officially 2021.
Officially. Yeah. It is.
Well, I mean, the episode of which I can't talk today. It's officially gone. My brain is officially gone. I don't know why.
It's probably because it's like I think this is one of our latest episodes. Like, because guys, it's like 8:00 at night right now,
and we're grandparents. I would be sleeping at this moment.
You would not be sleeping at 8:00.
I would be getting ready for bed potentially. Sometimes, I know.
You're kidding.
Well, Daniel, it's not like I got much going on right now with this pandemic.
That's true.
No,
although
I mean, I might be like working, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, one thing that I did the other night, which was actually kind of an eye-opening experience. So I was just like having a chat with my parents last night, and my mom recommended this Netflix show to me.
Ooh.
And I only watched one episode. Like, I didn't get like fully into it, but it kind of gave me a new. I think these kind of shows always give you a new appreciation, but it was called, I believe it was called Diagnosis. And it's about these people that have like chronic health conditions that like doctors just like can't diagnose, right? Like, so the very first episode, the very first episode was this girl that was like, she was like 23 years old. And ever since she was about 14, she'd been struggling with this like really rare condition. None of the doctors knew what was going on, because during the day and stuff, she'd be fine. But like once in a while, like once a week or sometimes daily or once every couple of months, she'd end up in like this in like excruciating pain all over her body and her muscles, to the point where like she couldn't move and stuff, and she had to be hospitalized quite often because she just like get into this. And they did all these tests and were like, no, your body's fine, like we don't understand what's going on. So part of the premise of this show is the lady, this one lady that's organizing it, this like doctor, she basically puts people's stories out there to like the World Wide Web. You know what I mean? To like,
right.
to everyone. And in this particular case, there was like a specialist research department in Italy that like came back and said, oh, we think that you might have this if you want to come here and do some tests. So they did like a whole like genetic sequencing and whatever else. But anyway, long story
And did she
short,
have it?
Yeah, she ended up having the exactly what they had suspected. It was like some kind of basically her body had issues breaking down fatty acids or something, and it was like basically attacking parts of her muscle and stuff. So like it was bad. So it had to do with like a diet. Yeah, basically the main thing to like, it wasn't like fully curable, but like she could alter her diet a little bit, and then basically that would mitigate some of the symptoms. But the reason I brought it up is watching a show like that, I realized, you know, this girl's 23. She's literally lived the last 9 years in like excruciating pain, like on a periodic basis. Like, we just can't complain. Do you know what I mean? There's
I know,
so many
we
other
really
things
can't.
where it kind of like gives you kind of appreciation for what you do have. And I thought to myself, you know, actually I'm quite fortunate and I'm quite lucky. So
it's
true. I think it's good to kind of watch shows like that sometimes, just to give you, not to like give you an ego boost or anything, but just to kind of make you
it's almost like humbling. It's humbling.
Yes. That's right. Yeah. That's the word, humbling. Cause you watch something like that and you're like, actually, you know, we do have it pretty good. And I think we have mentioned
it very good, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Like very good. And we mentioned it a few times on the podcast, but like, there are people out there, you know, and I'm really sorry for anyone that's in this situation that's listening, but like, you know, people that have lost their jobs and all of this kind of stuff. And like, we're both fortunate that that hasn't been our kind of reality. I mean, obviously, like, you know, some elements of our life are impacted, but like overall we're pretty okay, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So,
I know.
Yeah,
and it's like the things that we complain about our bodies. It's like, oh my God, I have too much like stomach fat, or like, oh my God, like, why do I have like, you know, gray hairs or, you know, wrinkles on my, you know, whatever. Like, these are just so, if you actually think about it, compared to what other people go through, it's like, that is like, I mean, of course, everyone has their own, you know, insecurities and situations
100%.
and issues.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you actually watch shows like that, it like literally puts things into perspective. You're like, holy shit, we should not be complaining. Like, we should be very thankful. That's so funny that you mentioned that, because today I was thinking, was it today, or remember how like we were talking about how like we should go walking, like do like a really long walk?
Yeah.
So guys, Daniel and I, we're planning on, I'm going to announce this so we actually do it.
Oh God. We're
planning on doing a challenge.
We're planning on doing.
Okay, well, we're going to start with the easiest one, obviously, and we're going to work our way up. Okay? Oh gosh, yeah. Why do you have hiccups? What's your jambalaya spicy, Daniel?
It had a little spice to it, you know, but it'd be the bubbly's giving me kind of hiccups and all kinds of stuff.
I will teach you one thing, okay? If there's, I mean, I've taught you so much, but one more thing I'm going to teach you, Daniel, is do not drink a carbonated beverage while recording a podcast, okay? I am also addicted, but it is not a good idea because you will get gassy.
True.
And somehow you'll also get hiccups sometimes.
Yeah. You know, I just get hiccups with everything. So,
yeah, apparently carbonated beverages, spicy food, not so spicy food that Daniel thinks is spicy, but it's really not.
God damn. The shade.
The shade.
Okay, so anyway, Rose, what you were saying about the challenges.
So we are planning on doing a walking challenge where we do, well, it's a step challenge. It's a step count challenge. So we want to do, 25K steps a day for a week?
Yes. So basically, okay, first of all, how this all came about though, guys, is because obviously, like, you know, New Year's is kind of a time. I feel like the reason all of this kind of stuff happens is this is around the time that people start thinking about fitness goals and, you know, reevaluating, refocusing for the new year. And, I think the way that I really feel like this stemmed is Rose actually sent me a video of a guy, and this is crazy, guys, because at first I watched the video and I was like, kind of like, oh, we could do this.
Yeah, Daniel was oh, we could totally do this. I was like, Daniel, are you like insane?
Yeah, so this guy did 100,000 steps with like a step tracker or whatever, 100,000 steps in one day.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God. And the reason why I kind of took it with a pinch of salt though is at the beginning he walked like 10,000 steps, which, you know, that's not too many. Like it's still a good amount, but it's not like, and he was like, oh God, my feet hurt. I have blisters. And I was like, okay, it was 10,000 steps. But then
yeah.
as I realized, I was like, okay, 100,000 is actually like a lot. Like that's a lot to do.
Well,
in one
you
day.
sent me that screenshot. Daniel sent a screenshot of his last week of walk. Was it last week? Mm-hmm. The past week?
It was this week.
Yeah.
Past week. Yeah.
And the total number of steps for that week did not even reach 100,000.
I know.
So we have to do that in one day if we were to actually do that challenge.
Which is insane because this week I've actually had quite a few big days where I've done like 20,000, 25,000. You know what I mean? Like I haven't not been like walking. So it made me reevaluate that statement quite quickly.
I mean, I think
Rose
one day we should still try it.
Yeah, I kind of want to because there's a part of me that's just kind of like, yeah. So
Okay.
so anyway, so the first challenge is the 25K one. Yeah. So we're gonna do this, guys. We're gonna do it one.
When are we gonna do it?
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it for a week. I don't know when. Like, when are we gonna start it? Like,
this is my concern. I'm concerned that it's gonna become -30 the moment that we decide to do this. So that's my concern.
And then what can we do?
Well, and then we'll just have to do it again another time. We'll have to redo it. We'll have to do our best.
Yeah,
guys, we're planning this shit.
We are planning. So the reason we're talking about this on the podcast though is it kind of makes us accountable as well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So then we can, feedback. I was going to say, I think we should start it on the 14th of January.
Okay, done. I will put it in my calendar.
That's the day. Yeah, I'm going to put it in my calendar as well.
Okay.
The 14th is when we're going to start.
And we're going to do a week worth of 25K steps a day. Yep. And then the next challenge is going to be, we're going to do one day and it's going to be 50K steps in one day.
In one day.
And then we'll see how that goes. And if we don't, if we survive that day, maybe we'll shoot for the 100K. Oh, shit.
Oh, God damn.
But I was thinking, so what I was thinking today or some other day when I was thinking about this, I was like, you know what? I was actually thinking, I was like, we're actually quite lucky to not have any issues. And we actually have a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Like the fact that, because like even today I was walking like over 20K steps. Yesterday we walked 27, like I walked like 20 something thousand steps. And like, I'm still able to move and do stuff. I'm not like, immobile after. So what did I just say? Immobile?
Immobile. But I think
is it immobile
right?
or immobile? Guys,
I think it's immobile. Immobile, I think.
Immobile?
I haven't heard of immobile. Yeah, but anyway.
Anyway, I said it very weirdly. Anyway, so I was thinking the same thing. I was like, wow, we're quite lucky to be able to still have that. And like there are so many people with so many random, like diseases, disorders,
chronic illnesses,
pain, chronic pain. I'm like, oh my God, I feel for you, man. Like I can't imagine.
Yeah, like I know from like experience, just like from my own like walking and everything else as well, is I know that like 25K, is quite a lot to do in one day. Like it is a good amount, but I also know like same as you, this last week, I've done quite a few days where I'm hitting almost 20K steps, and the next day I wake up, I'm fine, I have energy, I can do another 25. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
I think that the 25K one is more. It's a challenge, but I think it's more finding the time in the day to do that many steps.
Yeah, that's the only thing. It's like if I wasn't working and if I wasn't doing anything else, it would be a walk in the park. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like it'd be very easy, a piece of cake. But because like we have other responsibilities and we have to actually like do work, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. But we gonna do it. We gonna do it, Daniel.
We said it. You guys heard it right here on this podcast. This is our little kind of fitness, not challenge. Well, I guess a challenge. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think the 25K one for the week is more going to be a challenge for time management. And I think the 50K one in a day is going to be an actual physical challenge, because that one is going to be hard. Because like I think both of us, the most we've both ever done is around 30K, right? So yeah, and that's a big day. That's a big day.
It is. And even yesterday, after doing like I think I did almost 30K, and then yesterday I was like pretty exhausted. So it is still kind of a physical challenge, but yes, it is more of a time challenge.
Exactly. Because I think both of us, we can easily walk 25. I say this now, but let's see how the challenge goes.
Well,
but
I mean, it's like different. If we do it for an entire week, we might feel different, right?
That's very true. I'm like excited to see how this is going to be because and another thing too, guys.
We gonna get shredded.
Okay, damn. Another thing too is one thing that I think I've taken out of 2020, which I think is a really big positive. Actually, both me and Rose have. And part of the reason we're talking about this is, and I'm going to say this wrong. I said it wrong the other day when we were out for our walk, but we undervalue the, how do we underappreciate the value of walking?
You said it in a weird way. What you said under something, it wasn't undervalue, but I think
underestimate.
I think you said underestimate. I don't know.
Maybe.
But like I was like, that's not necessarily the right word, but I feel like undervalue. But today, you know what's funny? I was listening to someone else talking about this because someone else said the same thing. They're like, and they used the term that I was thinking of, but I couldn't verbalize. It's underrated. Like walking is the most underrated form of exercise. Yeah. Because people don't think it does much, but it actually is very effective. Exactly. Especially I think the thing with walking is if you're consistent and you are, consistently hitting a good number of steps every single day, that is huge. And like two reasons why I've realized this is number one, when I was in Spain and I was in lockdown and stuff, and after lockdown, I was doing quite a lot of walking. Yeah.
Still ate a shitload of food and stuff, but because I was walking so much, every single day, minimum 10 to 15,000, like always. Yeah. I actually ended up losing weight. I didn't even realize. And I remember when I first got back to Canada, people were like, a couple of like, even my parents were like, whoa, like I didn't lose a huge amount of weight, but it was noticeable, and that was just from walking because I wasn't really going to the gym. So
that's true.
Yeah. And then even just, how good it feels to be walking for, extended periods of time, you do get tired. So you're like, this is definitely an effective form of, cardio. And, you might not get necessarily your heart rate up to that cardio level, but I think, it's a very underrated form of exercise.
Yeah.
And I've just really enjoyed it this year is doing tons. I've always been a pretty big walker though. And I've enjoyed walking.
I don't think I've ever walked so much. I mean, I'm the same. I always do like to walk, but it's not as much as I did this year because this year we couldn't go to gyms like for most of the year. So walking, running.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I was going to say you've definitely, I feel like you more so than me, but like you've really like embraced the walking. Like I'm walking everywhere. Like, and it's so nice though too. Cause I'll be like, hey Rose, do you want to go for a walk? You're like, yes, let's go for a walk. Let's do it. Let's go to this part of the city. And like, it is really nice. And that's something I think, as we move into 2021, one thing that I'm going to take with me is some of the things that, obviously 2020 has been a very intense year for all of us, but taking some of those nuances and those learnings like walking, like doing that kind of stuff and try to continue that in the future, even after restrictions are lifted and everything else,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We can meet for our walking dates, Daniel.
Yes, we can still do that.
Yes.
Although we might be walking directly to the bar, but that's okay.
I was gonna say we might be walking with a can of beer in our hands, but still walking.
Oh, yeah, and then we'll just we'll also walk home. It might be a bit more of a stumble, but
it might be a bit of a dangerous walk.
Yeah. Oh God. God damn.
But yeah, no, the walking's been really good. It's been really good.
And it's also opened up to like, and just for other people too, like just going out there and walking, it opens your city up to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you start to see things that you didn't know were there before, discover new parks, new footpaths. It really can change things. So I would, even now, if like we're still in, I think a lot of people are still in a lot of restrictions at the moment, but just take this opportunity if you can, based on what your legislation or rules are, get out there and walk. Like honestly, it's the weather's good and it's
perfect time to listen to a podcast too. Just saying.
That is very true. You guys, we can keep you company on your walk. You'll have to get your headphones, listen to us as we talk about walking, and you can be walking as we're talking about walking.
Yes. Maybe some of these people are walking as we're talking about walking.
That's true. Well, actually, one thing that's been really interesting is specifically like on our, I don't know, it's not going to be our last, whatever, our Christmas episode that we released.
Our 3-hour episode?
Our 3-hour episode. First of all, thanks everyone for tuning in, obviously. And so many people, I didn't realize everyone watched the podcast or listened to the podcast like right up to the end, because Rose and I had said to make a certain comment on the end of the podcast, and so many more people than I had expected were all like commenting, still here at this time, or
that's crazy.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that's so like it's nice,
It's
and some
so
people were
heartwarming.
like, yeah, some people were like, oh, I was watching a bit of it and then I came back, or I went for one person was like, I went for a run, then came back, did some housework, and you guys were keeping me company through all of it. So I was like, oh,
so sweet. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the one thing I do wish that we could get like comments on the audio portion, because I know not everyone is watching the video, so not everyone's gonna comment, which is totally fine. But it would be nice to get feedback on the audio portion too. Just because it's so nice to hear when people like listen to the podcast. I'm like, oh, that's sweet.
Exactly. I think that's one of the biggest challenges. That's why I'm really glad that we do have the two mediums though, because like on YouTube, then we are able to get that kind of feedback. Because you're right, on Spotify and iTunes and all that, you just don't get that feedback loop, and you don't know what people are thinking, if they're enjoying the episodes. I mean, but a lot of the people that were commenting actually had come over from Spotify.
Because I think we said like, guys, if you're listening audio, go to YouTube.
Yeah, I was.
We're so annoying.
But a lot of people did that. Yeah,
that's sweet.
Like, oh, wow.
But Daniel, we're not just on two platforms anymore.
No.
Do you know what else we be on?
We are on. So I mean, my involvement on this so far has been very limited because of
very
my
limited, aka zero. But
yeah. Hey, I sent you some video clips, Rose.
You know what? Daniel does a lot for this podcast. He does the editing, and I am the auditor. I correct his grammar.
So and that's a full-time job in itself.
It's a full-time job. Yeah. Anyway,
but Rose,
we created a TikTok, guys. Can you believe we have created a TikTok? Already posted 3 TikToks.
Yeah.
It's happening. We're gonna blow up on TikTok. Okay, you heard it here, folks. Damn. You heard it here first.
You heard it. I was gonna say you heard it here first.
So remember this moment when we are Joe Rogan famous. Okay.
Yeah. Is that where that's kind of the
that's the pinnacle of success.
To like, yeah.
Yes.
God damn. That would be apparently like crazy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, anyway. He was already famous before, so it's kind of hard.
Exactly. But anyway, so that's kind of some stuff that we're doing, up in the new year.
Yeah.
Do you have any resolutions either, Rose? I was going to ask you.
I don't really, I was saying in my mukbang, I think I was talking about resolutions. I was like, I don't have any. I feel like I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to get fit. I do want to, I do have a resolution. Well, I don't know if I can do this year because I don't know if these things will be open, but I do want to do a half marathon, like I said. So that's the resolution.
Yes, I remember you telling me this. Yeah.
But either way, I'm going to work toward one, whether or not I can actually run one. And even if even if there isn't a full on half marathon thing or a marathon like event, maybe I'll just try to do one on my own because I know the length. Yeah. So, but that doesn't sound as fun. So I think,
I also feel like there's something to be said. Like I always think this as well. Like, of all the because I've been on a few small races, no like half marathons or anything. Like all the ones I went on were a lot smaller. But like there's something to be said when you're in that crowd, in that atmosphere. You actually run much better and much harder than if you were to just go on a jog. So like
100%.
For example, like I've never been like that big of a jogger. Like even when you and me go, I always like taking breaks and whatever else. But like for whatever reason, as soon as I get into that mindset and I'm at like an actual like run, like when we did the Wings for Life Red Bull run. Boom. Yeah. I was like there. I was like running the whole time. And I basically ran for like an hour and 10 minutes, which if I did try to do that by myself, I couldn't.
Yeah. Because you're like in the crowd. Yeah.
Exactly. And it pumps you up. It really does.
And for a fact, if you stop, everyone's going to see you.
This is so true.
So you're kind of like, okay, no, I want to keep going. It's like motivation,
Exactly. It's like some form of motivation. That's a good one to have though. I think accomplishing that, I think especially, I mean, not that we're like old yet, but we are getting older and there is going to be a kind of, I feel like we should do a lot of these things like big things like that while we're,
yes,
young,
while we're still mobile.
Yeah. No, but like you never know what could happen, right?
It's true.
It's good to kind of
So maybe I'll run a half marathon. I also want to get into the best shape of my life. That is the plan. So working on abs somehow, probably not going to happen, but I'm trying. I'm not trying that hard. I should probably try a bit harder.
Oh God, you know that saying? There's always that like cliche saying, but they're always like,
abs start in the kitchen.
What? Abs are made in the kitchen. Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay, my only issue, and we always talk about this, my only issue is alcohol. If alcohol was not a part of my life, I think I could do it. Because I don't really eat that much junk food. And the only time I do eat a lot of junk food is when I'm hungover or drunk.
That is true.
And if I didn't drink at all, I think I could do it.
This is actually no, I agree 100%. Like, this is a big thing. Like, I think part of also while I was in Spain, like obviously walking helped and stuff, but I had stopped drinking for a while. And even since I've been back, like, during this summer,
I'm shocked.
I mean, I was, as soon as things started opening up, obviously I was like,
oh,
out
you
again,
mean when you were in quarantine? Oh,
exactly.
I see. Okay.
There was a few evenings where I'd have a bottle of wine with some friends over Skype, but like, it wasn't like as much as, when things were open, because it was so easy to go grab a beer somewhere or, but I do think also since I've been back in Calgary, other than the summer, I mean, really, we haven't even done that much drinking, to be honest, like compared to London and, other places. And,
well, I would hope so, because we're not socializing. So if we're drinking as much as we were when we're socializing, that means we might have a little bit of a problem.
Oh God. But yeah, so I think, alcohol does play a big role, but I think right now is a perfect opportunity moment because we're not really drinking that much.
Well, I'm kind of drinking a lot. I don't know about you. What are you doing? You're not drinking that much. Why don't you have a 6-pack yet?
Are you body shaming me on this podcast,
No,
Rose?
I am joking, you guys. Guys, I am joking.
Yeah,
of course, I'm not body shaming you. Okay, I like them thick.
Yeah, well, it's one of the issues about being thick is constant rips in the pants, which is so frustrating. But anyway, that's another.
But Daniel, that's what happens when you want to be bootylicious. Okay, you can't have it both ways. Okay, you can't want bootylicious booty and not have a little rip in the jeans. Okay. You can't complain about that. I'd rather have a bootylicious booty and then have rips in my jeans. I'll tell you that much. Unfortunately, my fat doesn't go there. So that's just my issue.
And this is the thing though too, is because everyone's bodies are made so differently, so you just can't control it. But
guys, I know you haven't seen Daniel's bootylicious booty, but he got a bootylicious booty.
Oh God. You are embarrassing me on this podcast today, Rose.
I thought there was some injections going on, but it's au natural. He always jokes about getting a Brazilian butt lift, but I always tell him, Daniel, I don't think that's legal.
I know.
You already got all the booty.
Oh, damn. I'll be the
male
gay Kim K. No. I'm just kidding. But yeah.
What's it like being so bootylicious, Daniel? Would you like to share with us?
The struggle is real, I mean, no, it's not. I mean, the most annoying thing is just the pants issue, right? Like getting rips in the crotch, and then also I get
rips in the crotch, and I'm not bootylicious.
Okay, well maybe that's not the only. Yeah, I don't know. And also I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll find jeans that might fit me really nice in certain areas,
right?
But then it'll be really tight in other areas where I'm like, oh fuck, I can't get these jeans because
it's more like it's too tight on my stomach. So I get love handles. Okay. My butt feels fine because I have no butt.
You have a cute little butt, Rose.
Oh, Daniel, that's very kind. It took 10 years to grow somewhat of an ass. 10 years of squats.
I mean, you've been working hard with those booty bands and the squats.
Oh, God damn. I think I need to do more booty band. I wonder what would happen if I did booty band exercises every day. Just did those booty band target exercises every day. You think I could get to Kim K level? Huh?
I think the thing about working out, just to be to kind of not to crush your hopes of being, the Asian Kim Kardashian, but no, but I think if you ever overwork one area, I think that it can cause problems in other parts. So do you know if you overworked your legs or your your butt per se, then because that muscle would get so overdeveloped, it could like pull in other areas. Because I've heard of people that like, for example, a lot of guys like overwork their chest, and it gives them back problems because their chest is too like,
yeah, you'd have to like evenly work out.
Exactly. So I think it's like really important to do, even though despite we might have areas that we want like to look more toned and stuff like, but that's why like if you do like squats and everything else, those are working your legs and your butt and
that's true.
But if you do like super targeted exercises, then I think that you can have, I don't know, and I'm not a personal trainer, so I don't actually know, but I just think I've heard of people that overwork, especially pecs. Like I've heard of guys that have overworked their pecs that have like really bad shoulder pain and stuff because they haven't properly like worked out the back and stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
God damn.
I mean, I'll do it evenly. Okay. I don't want to look like some weird, only one part of my body is muscular type of person. Okay.
Exactly. Oh, God damn, Rose.
Anyway, guys, we do have a story. Is it one story that we have?
Yeah.
I mean, we've already talked for half the podcast, so.
I know. God damn. Well, you didn't ask me about my resolutions, but that's okay, Rose.
We can move. I'm sorry. What be your resolutions, Daniel?
I mean, to be honest, I don't really have any like specific ones because again, my main one is, again, it's kind of like, I know we talked about this, like we should never be too vague, but like I want to, get more fit. And I think the way that I'm doing that is starting to do like challenges, like the 25K, a day challenge, that kind of stuff. And I need to pick up my workouts because I've been so sporadic with working out at home just because I'm like, I miss going to the gym. Like I just miss it. And like, I just feel like when I'm at home, it's so much easier to kind of be a bit lazy and it's so bad. Yeah. I need to get out of that habit. So that's something I'm going to really try to push for this next little while is, physical fitness, Rose.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's hard to like, calling it a New Year's resolution is we're just calling it a New Year's resolution. This is just how we always feel. We always want to get a little bit fitter, right?
It's true. But I do.
But it's nice to feel like, oh, okay, we're going to, it's like a fresh start.
Exactly. But it's ironic because it's like January 1st, we've kind of just deemed that as a fresh start. Like really, you could pick any day of the year. You could be August 1st. That could be your fresh start,
Daniel,
like
it
doesn't matter. Like what?
Can I make fun of Daniel for a second again?
Oh.
Daniel.
Yep.
You always say it's ironic just when like I feel like you just say
when something's not ironic.
Yes. Like you mean to say,
Rose,
like I get what you're saying, but it's funny and it's cute.
Well, Rose, it's ironic,
It's One time I caught you saying it and I was like, that's not ironic.
You're like,
I didn't say anything at that time. I just wanted to call you out on the podcast because I'm such a nice friend.
But you noted it mentally, and so you could bring it out again at this podcast. So that's what you did instead. And I'm wondering how many other things you've mentally noted down to come and tell me about later.
Well, usually I do just tell you in person and make fun of you in person. But this one I just thought I would say for the pod.
Thanks for that, Rose. The irony, It's like that.
It's very ironic, Daniel.
Yeah, what was that? There was that song by Alanis Morissette that was called, I think it was called...
Ironic?
I can't remember I think it was Ironic. And literally the entire song, pretty much nothing that she said in there was irony.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did she do it on purpose?
I don't know. I can't remember. But I seem to recall that people were like, nothing in this song was actually ironic. So
right. Well, I mean, to be fair, I feel like ironic is a term that can be easily used slightly in the wrong context because it's not as definitive, I guess.
Black and white.
Yeah, exactly. Which is very ironic, Daniel. Moving on.
Yeah. All right, guys. So the news story that we do have today. So the one news story. Well,
which we can probably complain about it for about 30 minutes. So it's fine.
Exactly. But I think also the last couple of days, I think right after New Year's, I just feel like a lot of stuff has just kind of quietened a little bit.
Because everyone was on vacation. And according to our news source, a lot of them were on vacation.
Yeah, but literal vacation.
Literal vacation. Okay, tell us the story, Daniel.
So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of the story. So basically the headline is a growing list of Canadian politicians caught traveling abroad despite the pandemic. And I actually did see this on the news, and it was quite funny because the way that they did it on the news is they like showed different areas of the globe. So like London, Mexico, Hawaii, all of these places. And they'd be like, this politician went here. There was like 3 different politicians that went to Hawaii on separate trips. There was another guy that went to the UK. One of them went to Mexico. It was like crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah. So basically, an expanding list of Canadian politicians are in hot water after being caught vacationing or traveling abroad amidst worsening pandemic at home. Current federal public health guidance says to avoid all non-essential travel outside of Canada, something that our Prime Minister and health authorities have repeatedly reiterated in public briefings. Here's a quick rundown of the politicians involved thus far. I don't think we should necessarily name and shame people, but...
It's fine. You guys can Google.
Oh my God! Some of them have resigned. So I guess
Ontario, maybe they should.
I know. So here's Ontario Finance Minister resigns after news emerged that he vacationed in the Caribbean island of St. Bart's. That's so bad.
And I'm sorry, but like a bunch, like I think majority of these politicians were from our province, Daniel.
Yeah, Alberta.
From the UCP. Okay.
Yeah. So that was the Ontario one. I think there's a few others in Ontario. Blah 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 blah.
God, what an Alberta. Embarrassment!
I know, it's so bad. So Alberta Premier. So he's like our, I guess, governor of Alberta. No, like Premier. He has declined to discipline. He's declined to discipline members of his government for traveling abroad as it emerged staff like MLA. Blah, 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 travel to Mexico. I guess municipal affairs minister was vacationing in Hawaii. 2 education ministry press secretaries were also vacationing in Hawaii. And they got in trouble because obviously this was surfaced on their social media accounts. So they got rid of those. And then there was another press secretary for Alberta's education minister that was vacationing in Hawaii for Christmas.
It's like really bad. And like, I think one of them was I'm sorry if this is wrong, but I think one of them was in charge of vaccine rollout. It's like, these are critical times and they have this, mentality. Clearly there is some sort of politician mentality that says, I'm above the regular person and I can do whatever I want. Because it's like, it's one thing to travel, which they shouldn't have done in the first place. And it's another thing to like be stupid enough to post it on social media.
Exactly. And I'm sorry, but like, especially like, I don't know about you, how you feel about this as well. But like, I also think that like politicians, because of their positions, they also have to kind of hold themselves to a higher standard.
100%.
In many regards, because how stupid would we look? Like let's say me and you were politicians and we had like been like, look guys, no essential travel, only
essential travel.
Only oh my God, why can't I talk?
Unessential travel. Unessential?
Exactly.
Anyway, English.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, English guys. But like yeah, and then we were both caught vacationing when we've been telling people that, like, for example, like in Calgary, don't, like, let's say you have your family here, you're not supposed to technically go to their place for Christmas, or like all of these, like, so many rules. And like it kind of makes me like, it just kind of irks me as well, because like a lot of these people were like, caught going to Hawaii, for example. I actually had one of my really close friends was supposed to go to Hawaii and canceled their whole trip with their kids, everything, for this Christmas holiday because of what's going on. And then yet we have ministers that thinking that they can just go and do that, right? So it's just like, it's just, I don't know. It's really bad. Like,
it's so bad.
And to post it on your social media account as well, that's what shocks me.
I know. Oh, but some of them I heard, I don't know the details, but some of them apparently like did something sneaky where they pretended that they were still, because they knew that like some of them were, I guess, smart enough, quote unquote, that they wanted to pretend that they were still in Calgary or they were still in Alberta.
Yeah.
So they like pretended somehow. They like had voice notes. You know what? Let me find the information, because I was like, oh my God, that's even worse. It's like they knew that they shouldn't have been doing that. Okay, hold on. Let me find this.
Okay. That is even worse though, because it's like they're thinking not only that they think they're above it, but they know that what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
And then they're manipulating and misleading the public, and they're in a position of like,
responsibility.
Exactly. And responsibility to the public. These are like elected officials and stuff. So it's like kind of crazy. Like, oh, it's just so bad.
Oh my God. Let's just see here. Let's see. Oh my God. Okay. So someone, the Ontario finance minister, the one that resigned, he took a 2-week vacation in St. Bart's, where he had been since December 13th. And he was also criticized for posting a video on Twitter that led people to believe he was at home drinking eggnog by the fireplace in Ontario on Christmas Eve, while already in the Caribbean. So like he posted a video pretending that he was still in Ontario. And then somehow, I don't know how he got caught. Was he the one that posted a picture?
There was other people that posted pictures.
Oh my God, there's so many.
People posted
Anyway,
pictures and got caught.
It's very bad. Multiple guys in this like article, it says multiple Alberta politicians and senior staff. And of course, our lovely premier has refused to publicly reprimand several members of his party, even though like they were telling people, don't see your family during Christmas. It's such a difficult time. Don't see your family. So people can't go see their family on Christmas Day. And you are going to go to fucking Mexico? Bitch.
It's so bad. And the thing is, I seem to remember like on the news that I saw a clip of the premier and he was just like, the reason he didn't reprimand those people or like do any kind of like disciplinary is he's like, well, he was saying that they're not saying that travel is banned. They're saying that, and he was like so wishy-washy with what he was saying. And I was like,
oh, he's
no, but
such a snake.
I know. I was like, they told us that it's like non-essential travel.
Yes, it is very clear on the website. It is very clear.
Exactly. I think a vacation to Hawaii or to wherever, that is pretty non-essential. Like, I think that you don't have to go there.
The regular citizens of Canada realize and understand the rules, and the people that are in the government somehow they were not communicated the rules properly. Like he said, okay, so Kenny said that he took full responsibility. Kenny is the premier of Alberta. He said he took full responsibility for not properly articulating a travel policy for high-ranking members of his team. What? Do they have a different travel policy when they want to go vacationing in Hawaii? Oh my God.
But this is part of the problem that we've seen globally, not just in Canada, but with so many different countries, whereby you have these senior leaders, again, like I know that people make mistakes and whatever else, but like you're in a position of power, of influence, of, directing what's going on in a nation, and you're seeing these people take that really, really lightly. And like, because even myself, I'm like, I wouldn't even book a vacation because I'm also a little bit nervous about like, traveling, going to Mexico, like to do a 2-week. I would like to do an all-inclusive, like, but there's a reason why I haven't booked one yet because, I'm trying to follow the rules. And then you see people like that doing it. And it's not just in Canada, but it's like, obviously part of the problem with the States that they got themselves into such a mess was because, their president in the beginning wasn't even really taking it seriously, the whole coronavirus thing. And that led them into difficulties. Similar thing in the UK. I was watching Death to 2020 on Netflix. And like, it was funny because when Italy and Spain and some other countries were going into lockdown, things in the UK were still going normal for the most part. They weren't like taking it as seriously, until boom, okay, shit, we have to start doing stuff,
Yeah.
So
I just feel like this just proves like the stereotype of politicians, how they are two-faced and how they have like a public persona and like a public image. And like, how politicians are, like, this is why people hate politicians, because they just like, this is the exact example, because like they'll put up a front, right? They're so like politically correct. That's why there's a term, politically correct.
Politically correct.
Yeah, they'll just go up and do whatever they need to do to like pretend that they are a certain way. And then behind closed doors, they'll just do whatever they want. There was another one. So apparently the Alberta premier confirmed Friday that Municipal Affairs Minister Tracy Allard had been vacationing in Hawaii since December 19th. Kenny said he was aware Allard was in Hawaii at the time she posted a video of herself in front of a Christmas tree in the Alberta Legislature building. So she's another person that posted a video pretending that she
Oh my
was
God, that
still
is
here.
See, that to me, okay,
It's crazy.
The whole situation's bad, and I don't know what you guys think about this. Like, but I think one, it's already bad that you're doing it, right? That's already a bad thing. Like, it's not great. It doesn't show responsibility. Like, you're misleading the public as well, because then other people are going to think, well, they're doing it and they're in positions of power. They know what's going on, so I can do it. But then I think it's almost even worse. Well, it is worse. It's way worse that those same people are trying to mislead people as to what's going on. So that to me,
because they knew they were doing something wrong, right? Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, I made a dumb choice, like I made a dumb mistake.
Yeah.
But it's like, you fucking knew what you were doing, and it's like, I just can't. Like, okay, another thing though.
Do you think?
Well, my question is like, how are they even traveling? Like, are these other countries not like? Don't they have a 2-week quarantine kind of thing? I don't understand.
This is the one thing I don't get as well. I'm like very baffled about this. And I mentioned this on other episodes as well. Like, cause some of the people that I've met that I follow on Instagram and stuff, like they're
in
still
Hawaii.
traveling. Yeah. They're like in places like Hawaii or Mexico or freaking Maldives or all these places. And I'm like, how are you people in these places?
Or do you think they like go straight to the hotel and then that's where they quarantine? No.
I mean, maybe. I don't really know how it works. Like, because I thought that every single country had this in place where you had to quarantine. So,
does Hawaii not have such strict rules or something? Because it's like quarantine means like you have to basically stay in your house, right? Like what you had to do when you came back. Like you couldn't leave. Like you couldn't even go for a walk. So it doesn't make sense that somebody would go to Hawaii and have and like quarantine for 2 weeks.
2 weeks and exactly.
So are they getting rapid testing? Like, I don't get it.
That's what I was going to say. Maybe some countries have implemented rapid testing. Like, I don't know. I really don't know how, because I always assumed like now, like if I wanted to go to see like my family in the UK or whatever, like if I'm not doing that, but like if I was to do that right now, if I arrived there, I'd have to lock myself away for 2 weeks in like a hotel or something before I could go. And
that's why I don't get it. Did they go there 2 weeks ago and then quarantine and then they like, I don't get it.
But it doesn't, I think that there's just some people maybe either not following the quarantine policies. Like we saw that girl that got arrested in the Cayman Islands that took her tracking
Did we talk about that here?
Yeah, no, it was in our last episode. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we see that, but then I think maybe some countries are trying to implement, because some countries, they do rely so heavily on tourism.
I know.
So like maybe they're offering rapid testing. I don't know. But then I know that some countries have like travel bans from other countries. Like I know that, for example, the UK is having some issues with the European countries because nobody wants to let like British travelers in at the moment, because in the UK it's like exploding coronavirus.
Oh God.
So it's like,
it's a giant mess. This is why this is never going to end.
But this is the thing. This is the thing. I think you're right. That's like exactly it. Like it's not going to end if, I especially, and like, I'm sure maybe there may be some listeners or whatever that might not agree, but I think that like, if everyone kind of just put their vacation plans on hold and just, we did actually like very much limit the amount that people are traveling around, because that's how this really spreads, is like you have people going from city to city, right? Like if you can isolate each city in a way as best you can, you can help control and contain this a little bit better. So, but if you're going to constantly let people travel around, it doesn't matter what one city's doing. One city could be really good at contact tracing. It could be really good at testing, but that doesn't matter if you're letting people in from other countries that aren't doing that. So, and
like, shouldn't there be some kind of system in place? Like, I just feel like with Canada, what we did was like, it was just so like laissez-faire, like do whatever you want. Like, take personal responsibility. Personal responsibility, my fucking ass, okay? This is why we can't rely on people to take personal responsibility, because even the people that are supposed to be taking personal responsibility, that are telling people to take personal responsibility, they're not even taking personal responsibility. So how do you expect the regular average citizen to take responsibility in their own hands? That's why I feel like certain strict rules have to be in place. Like, if you're going to travel, you better prove that you're traveling for work. Otherwise, why are you going to Mexico?
Exactly.
What kind of affairs do you have in Mexico, Mr. Minister of Finance of Ontario? Like, what the fuck?
In Alberta.
Yeah.
Or in Ontario.
Or wherever.
Like, Does the Ontario government have a lot of financial dealings with Mexico that you have to go
God.
and have a meeting that you can't do Zoom on or whatever? Like,
honestly, and is it not like it's so? I was gonna say it's so ironic when it's not ironic, but isn't it so just so
I'm rubbing off on you?
Yes, isn't it just so like perfectly in line with what I would have imagined the UCP to be doing? Like, just the government of Alberta, the Conservative Party. Of course, the majority, like multiple people from that specific, what do you call it, like party, that specific government, of course they're the ones caught, you know, because these people just don't give a shit and they think that they're above you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're not for the people. They think that they're above the people. They don't give a shit about the people. They're going to tell you not to see your family on Christmas. Yet they're going to be vacationing and spreading the disease all over the goddamn world and bringing whatever back.
Well, this is the thing. I was going to say they might not be necessarily, well, maybe they are spreading it, but then also bringing whatever back. This is the big thing. It's like, especially like like they said, non-essential travel. Like I just, you know, and maybe I'm like clueless to this, but like, you know, I don't see like if non-essential travel is shut down and business travel pretty much is at a standstill at the moment because you do Zoom conferences and everything else, like, who is traveling? And like, you know, I just don't see like if we isolated this or tried to as much, like I said, to cities as much as possible, like Australia and New Zealand, for example, that have like now Australia is like able to have like I think I saw some videos from like New Year's and stuff. They're like having proper parties and like, you know, because they have no cases, right? So
oh God.
And they're being really strict about people that are coming in. Obviously, there's probably still people flying in, but they're being like
very strict. They like lock you up for like 2 weeks and make you like stay in a hotel room. I think they have like a government program. I think. Yeah.
No. I'm pretty sure that's because I remember my friend that's from Australia was coming from London to Australia because she's from there, and she had to stay for 2 weeks. Even though her family's there, her parents there, everything, she had to stay in a hotel.
Which makes, I'm sorry, but that makes sense. Okay. Because like I said, people don't fucking follow the rules. Okay. So saying like, oh, we recommend that you, you know, or they say, oh, it is mandatory that you stay in your house, but who is mandating it and who is, you know, who's making sure that that's actually happening?
Exactly. In my experience, from my limited experience, but when I got back, for example, there's a few things that actually I was surprised I was able to do as well. For example, flew into Toronto, left the airport, went to a hotel for one night, came back to the airport, and then flew into Calgary. So there was multiple points there where probably I have come into contact with people, you know, technically not like, I mean, really, I probably should have just gone or if they had some government thing set up where I should have just gone into some kind of holding facility and like not 100%. Been able to leave for 2 weeks and then gone to Calgary. Right. And then got to Calgary. And then when I was here, like I stayed obviously at my parents' house in the basement. And the only thing they did check in on me, but it was a phone call. And, you know, I could have easily given them a mobile number or something. And they called me and they said, are you at your house? Yes. And I could have been anywhere.
Oh, they called you once?
They called me once. They never came to my house. No official came to my house or anything. They just called once.
Yeah. Well, other places have like bracelets and shit. Like,
I know.
But, you know, we're all about the freedom, you know? Oh, God. I feel like, you know, we're a little too close to the U.S. Like,
I mean, yeah.
You know what? We always make fun of the U.S., but you know what? We should be ashamed of ourselves. This story is embarrassing.
I know. It's so bad. Like, I just think, and again, like, these people, again, that are in positions of power, that are, you know, influential, just doing whatever they please. It's like when we talked about all those like influencers and stuff also, like having all these bougie parties and like, you know, I saw another Instagram story of some influencers, I think in LA, and they still seem to be doing parties and stuff.
Yeah. And the numbers are out of control. Are they not?
It's crazy in the States. Like,
yeah. Especially in California, no?
Oh my God. Like, it's just like, it's crazy to me.
Yeah. But I do think the story about politicians is worse because they're politicians and technically they should be, you know, influencers are just, you know, doing whatever. They're young kids, like being stupid. Okay, whatever. That's still bad, but understandable to some degree. But like politicians that are literally telling you what not to do and then doing that specific thing, that's so bad.
I know. It's like, it's that's the worst because these are the rule makers. It's like somebody saying, it's kind of like it's similar thing, but like someone saying, oh, I guess like a tax official or someone being like, it's really, really important. You need to make sure you're paying your taxes, blah, blah, blah. And then it comes out in a scandal that they haven't paid taxes for 5 years.
Oh my God, they're the worst. It's like, the worst.
It's like, come on, people. Like, practice a little bit of what you preach, you know?
And you know what's bad as well? It's like, this is going to reignite, like, it's going to obviously make people like us mad. But then I feel like it's also going to make already the anti-maskers, the like lockdown
Vaxxers.
people, not necessarily like anti-lockdown, anti-maskers, people that are like in denial of this virus, they're going to come full force, in my opinion, because like they're going to be like, well, clearly it's not a big deal. And they're going to like, again, this is going to go into some more conspiracy theory-esque sort of, territory, because they're going to be like, well, the government obviously knows something that we don't. They think it's fine to travel because they're doing it themselves.
Rose, you have such a good point there. I didn't even think about that point about how it's literally going to fuel the fire behind these conspiracy theories.
God.
Because you're right. People are going to see politicians doing whatever they want, traveling, and they're saying, well, the politicians are a lot closer to what's going on, we would think, about all of this stuff than we are, right? As everyday kind of, everyday Joes. And that's going to fuel the fire for people to be like, oh, well, politicians are doing this. So why should we even consider what they're saying is fact? They obviously know something that we don't. And it's so bad. I think and we saw that in the States perfectly when Donald Trump for the longest time wasn't wearing a mask to like rallies and stuff. And people were like, well, he's not wearing a mask, like why the fuck should we wear masks? So,
and we also knew that when Donald Trump, the leaked tapes where he knew that he actually thought the pandemic was serious, because he heard about it, but then to the public, he was telling them, it's just the flu. It's just the flu.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, that's just one example, one of a million examples of how politicians will just lie straight to your face, which is another reason probably why these conspiracies come to fruition, because, of course, if you just keep lying and lying and lying, people are not going to believe anything you say. So why should they believe you now?
Yeah. Well, exactly. That's it. That's just it. If you are constantly lied to and, constantly over and over again, lie to me once and I believe you. Shame on you.
Shame on
lie to
me
me twice. Yeah. Lie to me twice. And if I believe it again, shame on me. Because you know what? If you're constantly buying into people's bullshit, then it is causing problems. And that's what makes me so angry. Like, this is kind of a separate topic altogether. But like, one of the things that really drives me crazy about like politicians and the whole, elections and everything else is a lot of those, like, again, false promises that are made. And, there seems to be limited to no accountability for, fraudulent claims. So like, one of the really good examples was the whole Brexit campaign and everything that happened in the UK, this huge campaign where they're saying like throwing around monetary dollars of what's going to be invested into the NHS. Turns out there was no substantiation to any of those claims.
Right.
And yet there was no repercussions for making false statements. So like, I just think
that's such a good point.
Exactly. And I get that there is some gray area in a sense that like if I was to run for like mayor of Calgary or something, right? I'm not going to know fully budgets and everything else, but there should be like a discrepancy, like an area of what's it called? Variance, an area of variance that you're allowed. Like, let's say you're saying 10 billion will be reinvested into education. Well, you're allowed to say within 10% or whatever. And if you're over that, or like whatever that, over or under, then there'll be repercussions. Something. I mean, I'm just making shit up. But like,
why are these people allowed to lie? They straight up lie.
Exactly. Because like, think about it. If we applied for jobs and we lied on our resume and it came out that we didn't have a degree or we didn't have half the shit that we said for the job,
get fired.
We would get fucking fired. So why are these people allowed to be like, oh, I'm going to invest 100 million into healthcare, and then when they get elected, say, oh, just kidding, 5 million into healthcare, and they still get their jobs.
And it's the same shit. Oh my God, I just realized like it's a literal same shit. Like Trump did the exact same thing. Even Obama promised a lot of things during his like whole campaign. He was all about change, huge change. We're going to make some big changes. And he really didn't change much, to be honest. And same with Trump. I think they both actually said they were going to pull out of the Iraq war. Guess who's still in Iraq?
Yeah. But this is what I mean is like there seems to
no
be
accountability.
limited to no exactly. And I do get that, again, like I said, there's some gray area because there's some things that, are a little bit out of the politicians' control and whatever else. But I do feel like a lot of the blatant lies and false promises, this is why people are getting disenfranchised with democracy. I mean, I'm not saying that democracy is bad, but I'm saying,
we don't really have democracy. Let's be fucking real. Right. Because again, if we are electing, this is why sometimes I believe in the, I think there's a term for it, but it's better rather voting for politicians who we make into celebrities, and it becomes a weird kind of cult following. It's better to just vote on issues. Let's say you wanted to that's real democracy, in my opinion, because if we can't trust what politicians are saying, so if politicians are lying or saying whatever they want, pulling shit out of their ass to be oh, I want to get elected, so I'm just going to say whatever I think is going to get me elected, then we don't know if any of those things are going to actually happen. So you're just voting blindly, essentially. And we only have a choice between two people. So it's fuck. How is that fucking democracy? So democracy would be actually voting. I guess Brexit is technically democracy, but I guess that's another issue, though. Yeah. That's another problem.
But then that was a highly manipulated democracy.
That's
exactly.
True.
All of the campaigning around Brexit, people were, and the thing is, something like Brexit is such a huge, complex thing to do. And I'm not saying if I was for or against or whatever. I mean, I wasn't for it, to be honest. For Brexit, I thought it was a stupid vote. But anyway, regardless, it's such a complicated issue, and the fact that there was so many blatant lies being said that honed into certain issues that were going on in the country that people had issues with, they honed into that, and that was what was a big part of the campaigning, which is really bad. And you know what's crazy, actually, just on a little side note, I was reading an article the other day about Brexit, because it's official now, I guess. They're officially done, and I guess there was some UK holiday makers, or not holiday makers, the people that live in, I think it was Spain and a few other countries, that were in the UK for Christmas and were trying to come back to Spain because that's where they live, and they were having all kinds of issues and stuff
because of Brexit, because it became official. This is how it starts.
Well, part of it, I know, part of it they were saying the both sides were this shouldn't have been an issue, they should have been able to come through because technically there's still some agreement or whatever, but I guess some of the airlines were causing issues or something like this, and I don't know the whole story, but it was a bit confusing. But at the same time, basically people that were trying to get back into Spain that were British citizens that lived in Spain, that had retired there or whatever, were having serious difficulties coming back. And they were like, we shouldn't be subject to this, government incompetence and stuff. And I was like, it's funny because I do feel like a lot of the British people that were living abroad had also voted for Brexit. And it's
right.
How do you expect such a big decision not to impact you? You know what I mean? You're literally leaving a free movement, and depending on what agreements the UK gets in place with all of these, with the EU, of course it's going to impact travel. Of course it's going to impact all of these things in some way, shape, or form, because it's a change, right?
So did you think some of these people actually voted for Brexit? The people that were complaining?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know what the people but I did remember when Brexit was being voted, years and years and years ago, when that vote happened, because I was in the UK. And I do remember when they were showing the breakdown and stuff, I seem to remember that a high percentage of British people, expats that were living in Europe, mainland Europe, had voted for Brexit as well.
Oh my God.
Which I was like, that's kind of ironic, because they're probably receiving British pensions.
Yeah.
And they're living in another country. That's going to impact them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
They don't
think about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and the crazy thing is, it's this always happens. It's they just think about, oh, I don't want dirty foreigners living in England. Let's face it, it was a vote on getting rid of foreigners, right? Let's be honest.
A huge thing.
So that was the whole campaign.
Exactly. The two main, sorry to cut you off there, but the two main prongs of that whole campaign, obviously there's other parts. The two main was the amount of money that they were going to save from the fees they paid to the EU was going to get reinvested into the NHS, to the hospital system. And the other one was exactly what you said. They wanted full control over immigration of the UK, of their borders, basically. And that stems from people thinking and saying, oh, these immigrants are here taking our jobs, blah, 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 blah. That's what that was fueling. And that's where they got a lot of, and that's why, and that was reflected in a lot of the votes. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the votes were kind of like polarized in certain areas of the UK where there's, you know, certain sentiments against, you know, immigration and foreigners. So
yeah. And it's like the same thing with like, in the US when they were talking about, you know, building the wall and getting, you know, Mexicans out or whatever. And then I remember the same, like there would be news stories of people that voted for, you know, Trump or something because they wanted, and even people that were like Mexican, but they were like Latino or something, but maybe they lived in the US for a while. So they think, oh, like, I'm not like those people. Like, I don't want, like, I'm a proper citizen. But then when they have people around them or maybe their family was affected, then they're like, well, I didn't think it would affect me. Like, I can't remember the exact story, but I think there was a story of someone that like wanted Trump to win, but then like her family member or someone got kicked out of the country. And she was like, well, I mean, he was a good person. Like, I mean, I just wanted the bad people out. I'm like, it doesn't work that way, bitch. Like,
exactly. It was ironic because
so selfish.
Yeah, I think he did pull a lot of support actually in this recent election, although he didn't win, but he actually got a lot of support from the Latino Hispanic community, which is so ironic when he was the one that was like, we need to close the borders to Mexico and, you know, build a wall. So it's like, well, why is he getting such a report?
Because I think what happens is it's like a phenomenon where these people, they kind of get like sucked into the melting pot of the United States. So then they live in this country where obviously being on the side of, you know, the US might give you certain advantages, right? So maybe they've, you know, benefited from living in a society like a, you know, maybe a white community or whatever. They're doing fine. So they think, oh, we're not like those people like that are coming from, like it happens. Same thing happens in like Asian, you know, cultures as well. Maybe not so extreme, but like, you know, like Asian people in Canada might think like, oh, like those fobs in Asia, they're so like, you know, this and that, and they have certain ideas. Because if the dominating group is, you know, a certain way, then you kind of want to fit into that dominating group. So I think that's just like a phenomenon that happens, but like it is crazy that does happen. Yeah. It's like kind of sad. I guess it'd be similar concept to like when they say like internalized misogyny, like how women have certain display certain I guess beliefs or have certain beliefs that maybe go against their own like personal interests, but because they want to fit into a society that is misogynistic. Am I using the right term? Misogyny, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because they want to fit into that society and fit into the kind of patriarchal norm. They kind of display what they call like internalized misogyny. Or even maybe like even gay people might do the same. You know what I mean? Like the minorities will have a certain way of. So like certain traits, like you don't like, for example, you'd be like I do this, maybe this is bad, but I'll be like, oh, like, don't be such a pussy. You know, like using terms like that, where it's like, clearly it's kind of, it is offensive to women, right? It's not very empowering to women, but that we use it.
That's very true.
As part of, you know, living in a very hyper masculine society. That's my little analogy.
Yeah. You could be onto something there, Roses. I think you might have a point.
Yeah. Well, it was like, for example, in the, sorry, I keep going on and on, but I remember in Korea back in the day when like long time ago, there was a Japanese occupation, for those of you guys that don't know. So before Korea was North and South Korea, Korea was just one Korea. And then Japan occupied Korea for like 30 years or something like that. So Japan like, you know, came into Korea and tried to colonize Korea. And the only reason why they left is because I think the reason why they left is because they lost World War II. But anyway, that's a little random history lesson for you. But basically what happened during that time was that a lot of Koreans, you know, obviously suffered as a result, especially the ones that didn't want to cooperate with the government, with the Japanese government. But then there were a group of Koreans that kind of like betrayed Korea and just went along with the Japanese, and they became, you know, powerful people in the society. So, you know, they kind of like, you know, I guess backstab the Korean population so that they could, you know, it's like Candace Owens. That is the perfect example. Like she is like the prime example of somebody that, would rather just, enhance their own selfish interests and be part of, Yeah.
Even though, oh God, and it's just crazy. I mean, I can see what you mean. Like especially with Candace Owens, the fact that she, in a lot of her videos, she's like quite racist towards Black people, yes, especially. And I'm like, this is like that's not ironic, is it?
Yeah, I think ironic is it's a bit ironic.
Yeah, I was like, should I say? It is, but it's kind of ironic because it's like, especially like, why are you, but I guess, again, she's looking out for her own selfish interests. So, Candace Owens, if you are listening, stop immediately.
But, she's making the bucks and she's, living probably in a big mansion.
Exactly. And unfortunately, we know all too well that, a lot of society and people are driven by greed and, that some people will do anything for money. And it's a kind of scary concept. I remember in university as well, one of the things that our professor said, he was like, I can't even remember what class it was, but he's like, everybody has a price. Ooh. And that like resonated with me because I was like, oh God. Because he was like,
wait, what does that mean? That means everyone is willing to do something. It's just everyone has a different kind of...
Exactly. Everyone has different thresholds, right? Like maybe some people will be more flexible with their morals for less money, but then he's like, but it's hard to, it's, I don't think it's been properly tested and whatever, but it was an interesting concept. 'Cause I thought, well, I don't know, like, is there accuracy to that? Like, does everybody have
maybe
a price
to some degree?
Exactly. Because it doesn't have to necessarily be something bad to you and your friends or family, but maybe somebody says like, oh, would you do X, Y, Z for however much? And initially you'll be like, no, but there'll be a certain price where you might be like, actually,
I think that depends on the situation you're in currently. So like if you didn't see, that's the thing. I would understand if you were in a survival situation and you had no money. So then you're willing to bend your morals or whatever. But like, if you're already in a comfortable situation, like there's,
true.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like,
it's hard to say. It's hard to say though. Like,
I guess majority, so. If someone offered you $1 billion, would you rage against the gay community, Daniel? Would you be the new Candace Owens for the gay community?
I feel like that wouldn't be worth it. You know what I mean?
It's
but again,
not worth it. Money doesn't buy happiness, folks.
Exactly.
And it's not going to buy you your dignity and your pride. I'll tell you that.
Exactly. You're never going to get that back. So.
Yeah. Crazy.
Anyway.
Crazy. Well, that was a great discussion at the end there, Daniel.
Oh, God damn.
I enjoyed that.
Have them good discussions,
we do.
Roses. We should talk more about this in another episode.
I know. It's quite an interesting concept. Would you be willing to knock down a few people so you could get to the top, or an entire community? Betray your own citizens. Betray your own kind. God damn.
What would you be willing to do for $1 million? God damn.
Honestly, it's crazy.
Who knows? No.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. That was a fun discussion. Let us know in the comments if you are watching on YouTube. Let us know what you thought. If you have any thoughts, it would be fantastic. You guys always have very insightful comments. We enjoy them.
Yeah. There's some really cool ones. And we honestly do love reading your comments and feedback, guys. So
and what kind of shit would you do for $1 million?
Exactly. Oh, God damn. Maybe don't put that down there, guys.
No, you know what? Our listeners are moral, ethical people. They would not do anything shady.
But yeah, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. If you aren't already, make sure if you're listening to us on either Spotify or on any of your kind of podcast platforms, hit that kind of follow button. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, give it a thumbs up if you like the video, and check us out on Instagram as well.
Yes.
That's
TikTok.
a great way for you guys to and TikTok now.
The SaVeg Podcast, my friends.
Both of those are the SaVeg Podcast, and it's a great way for you to kind of, I don't know about TikTok, but
yes,
at least on Instagram you can interact with us, you can send us messages. We love hearing from you guys, so definitely do that. And What else, Rose? We have
And
something
guys,
else.
check us out on Patreon. We do a bonus episode every month, only on Patreon. So if you don't want to miss that, check us out. You can watch our videos ad-free, my friends. And you get every episode a week earlier than everyone else because you be special.
That's true.
Well, you all special, but the patrons get a little bit of the VIP treatment. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, God damn. But anyway, hope you all enjoy your week. And happy 2021 now. We're all in the new year. And see you guys next week. Bye.